Maps that are entertaining. Countries where cheek kissing is a common greeting. Ah, I hate this. So it's like the hi, how are you? It's not very common in the UK. You can see it's not highlighted, but I have had to do it to like an estranged auntie a couple of times in my life. Actually making contact with someone. But apparently it's pretty common in a lot of Central and South America, Eastern Europe, Northern Africa, Spain, Italy, all over the place, to be honest. What Antarctica looks like without ice. Oh, this is entertaining. Look at that. So when you're in Enhance, you can recognize that Antarctica shape, you know, particularly this squirrely bit here that points up to Argentina. So if global sea levels keep rising, this is actually what Antarctica could look like one day. Say whatever you want, but that would make a great fantasy map. Do you know what? It does look like something you'd see from a game or a story. Vast stretches of the world are now below the replacement rate. You will probably live to see humanity's population peak. Oh, that's very interesting to think about. So what this means is in these red countries, more people are dying per year than new people are being born, because just generally people are having slightly less children than they used to. There is, however, a big exception in Africa where just the population is going crazy, and there's loads of economic reasons for this. So it's so interesting to think that we might be alive to witness the most humans that will ever exist at one time. Christianity in the US by county. So Christianity is pretty popular still in the United States, but we can split it into subcategories of Catholics, Protestants, and even Mormons. So the Mormons have got this area on lockdown. So what state is that? Is it Utah? It is Utah. Utah and Idaho. But then most of the US Christians are Protestants. I'll be honest, I don't really know the difference in terms of beliefs and whatnot. Oh, this could be an interesting map of the video. How have I only just learnt this? Kiribati is the only country that spans all 4 hemispheres. I've been learning geography trivia for about 4 years now. How have I only just discovered this? That's incredible. Oh, and also it says Ecuador. Ecuador is not anywhere near Kiribati. It's like all the way over here. Ecuador is just the word for equator in Spanish. Women's rights in the past 100 years. This is an enhance. Okay, so summarizing, we can see there is a lot more green, so that is fantastic. But isn't this crazy? So Australia, 1923, women were emancipated. I don't know what that means. I assume it means have basically equal rights. Yeah, free from restraint, control, or power. However, men were still officially the head of the household. We can see that still today, there are a bunch of countries in the Middle East and Africa where forced marriage is still allowed. Like, that is just awful, isn't it? Let's be honest. Like, religious connotations or not, that can never be acceptable. What do you call Istanbul? So most countries in Europe call it Istanbul. Greece and Cyprus still call it Constantinople. Constantinople is what it used to be called. Russia and a few other eastern countries go with Sirgrad. It sounds kind of cool. Has Russia ever been at war with you? Basically, every country in Europe says yes. Other than Iceland, Ireland, is that Belgium? Oh, each of the teeny tiny places. Andorra, San Marino, Rome, Monaco, Liechtenstein, I'm guessing that is. But generally speaking, yes, they have. Oh, this is an absolute geography classic. This is Pluto if it was over the top of Australia. Hence why in the early 2000s they concluded Pluto's not allowed to be a planet anymore. It's just a big rock. Sorry, Pluto. British English versus American English. What is taught in schools? So yeah, there's a few differences between American and British. One of the classics is in the UK, we spell colour like this, and the US spell it without the U. It seems like generally they just simplify a few words, make them a bit more phonetic. But anyway, as we can see, the vast majority of the world teaches British English, with exceptions in the usual places. United States, obviously, and Central and a lot of South America. Saudi Arabia, always looking for the opportunity to mix it up a bit. And Japan too, which is quite interesting. The United States of Dollar General. Dollar General is a discount store in America, somewhat like a pound shop that you would get in the United Kingdom. And as you can see, they have got the east of the United States on lockdown. That is an incredible amount of stores. Like, that's ridiculous when you actually think about it. But it is interesting that they've stuck to one side. I know that a lot of people don't live here, but you would still think it'd be a bit more dense here. But I suppose maybe California, people are a bit richer. Maybe there's less demand for a dollar store. But I take back the words that just came out of my mouth, because there's a lot of poverty in California, isn't there? I reckon the business just started over here and they're just expanding slowly outwards. Bro, I'm in Mississippi and there are sometimes $2 Generals in one small town, because why drive an extra 3 minutes when you don't have to? They recently built 2 roundabouts near me, about a mile apart, each with a combination of Family Dollar / Dollar General stores. Pretty sure you can see one from the other. They're the Walmarts for places that are too small for a Walmart. Yeah, I want to know how many stores this actually is. 20,000 stores. That's crazy. This is interesting. Amount of active businesses older than 1,700 in every country in the world. I mean, this is not every country, it's Europe with a few bonuses on the side. Also, why is the map not being coloured in? This is very unappealing to look at. I know I'm just sat here on my high horse, not actually creating any of this content, but you could have coloured it in. So a lot of the numbers are pretty low. Germany actually really high, 186. And the United Kingdom quite high on average, 43 businesses that are over 300 years old. Look at Japan though, 532. Do you know what? I think this has got to be based on so many different discrepancies. It is interesting though, 5 oldest companies in the world are all in Japan. In fact, the study found that 56% of all companies older than 200 years are from Japan. This person pointed out that there are hundreds or thousands of pubs in the UK that have existed for hundreds of years, however, not continuously, which is an important distinction. So all of the companies on the list have had the same family or lineage the entire time. It's actually really interesting. I just wish it was called in. China's territorial disputes 1949 versus 2024. So basically in 1949 they were kicking off at everybody around them, whereas now they've chilled it out a bit. They still have disputes with Japan. I think that's around some of the sea and fishing areas and stuff. I know there's disputes around India and the Himalayas. I didn't know about Vietnam though, and interesting that Philippines and Malaysia are involved. European countries where the capital is also the most visited city. That's very interesting. So for example, London is definitely by far the most visited city in the United Kingdom. Let's see if we can name what the most visited cities are in the ones that are not capitals. So for Turkey, it'll be Istanbul because their capital's Ankara. A lot of people just think it's Istanbul. Poland, so their capital is Warsaw. I don't know what their most visited city is. It's Krakow. Okay, a former capital. And home to a famous dragon. All right, Spain. Well, their capital is Madrid, but I'm guessing Barcelona's most visited. Switzerland have some discrepancies on what their capital is anyway, so we'll skip that one. And Croatia. What's the capital of Croatia? Is it Prague or is it Zagreb? I'm going to say it's Prague. Ah! Dubrovnik is actually most visited in Croatia because of its rich history and cultural sites. Wow, it does look delightful to be fair. Look at this. Ooh, a bit busy for my liking. Well, look at this. The 2014 Romanian presidential elections and the Ottoman Europe of 1876. So you can see that even though it's like 150 years ago, the areas that were within the Ottoman Europe voted for social democracy, whereas people outside of it voted for conservatism. And you can see it's not just coincidence. That is a really similar line, like particularly this region. It's just fascinating the long-term historical systemic impacts that politics and land has had. Like the people that have made these votes won't even know that they'll have been historically influenced. Leaked locations of all Volkswagen cars in Europe. Oh, they leaked it! Who leaked it? But you can see that they are absolutely dominated in Germany, which does make sense, and they are pretty popular basically everywhere else too. Oh my god, so that's London. That is a crazy amount of influence, isn't it? It's basically multiple cars on every street. Scroll, scroll, scroll. Look at this. Imagine being a senior person in that company and knowing how much influence you actually have. It's crazy. Worship attendance. People who attend worship services at least monthly. So in the UK it's 20%. That's actually higher than I thought. Ireland's very high, 37%. I visited Ireland last year and I did get that impression. Highest is Poland actually, which is 61%. I suppose when you're playing Geoguessr and you're in Poland, there are little churches everywhere. Russia is down to 17%. I thought that would be higher. Where's the lowest? We have a few 11%, such as Sweden, and I think that is the lowest one. Population change in Britain and Ireland, 1821 to 2019. You can see it's gone up almost everywhere. So England used to be 10 million people, now it's 56 million people. That explains why I'm always stuck in traffic now. Ireland's population actually has gone down a bit, 6.8 million. Now, I've looked at this map before, and I ignorantly said, oh, they must have moved away. But it was actually due to, like, serious famine, generally caused by the English as well, so not ideal. World calendar systems. This actually blows my mind that every country isn't just following the same year. You see that most countries are just in 2025 now. But for Northern Africa, some of the Middle East, apparently it's 1446. I can't get my head around how this works. 2017 in Ethiopia? How did they end up just a bit out? 1946 in India? Everyone's on different systems following different things, but it still makes no sense to me. I imagine that so many of these countries like China, they must generally have to kind of follow the 2025 calendar anyway, just in terms of their exports. Population growth by continent. This was in the year 2024. So North America went up by 4.6 million people, which is not a lot when you consider how many people are actually in this region, like literally hundreds of millions. Brazil, 2.6 million. Once again, that's very, very low. Europe actually went down by 1.2 million. So all three of those continents, very, very stable in terms of population now. 600k for Oceania is nothing, but it's not a hugely populated area anyway. Asia went up by 28 million, which sounds a lot, but what's surprising is normally on population-related stuff, Asia absolutely dominates. But as we can see, going back to that earlier map, Africa's population has actually increased the most, 35 million. And that's probably going to keep going up for quite a few more years before it starts slowing down. Ah, I scratched the world map onto a banana. That is the most incredible thing I've ever seen. I do feel like more effort went into the northern hemisphere than the southern. It kind of feels like you've just done some triangles for South America and Africa. Whereas, like, look at Norway, and a lot of effort's gone into Canada too. Yeah, you got lazy there. You've let me down, actually. And I'm just a bit upset about it, so I'm probably going to end the video there. If you wanted this video to be longer, please send all complaints to this banana. Thank you very much for watching. Subscribe. I want to get to 2 million. I feel like I'm never going to get to 2 million on this channel. So many of you have watched this video all the way to the end, but you're not subscribed because you're like watching on TV or whatever. Please subscribe. It's free and it really does help me out. Okay, I'll see you later.